Peace and blessings be upon you all. Thank you for joining me today. Today is the third episode where I discuss some of my favorite chapters from the Tao Te Ching written by Lao Tzu, one of the prophets of God. And I'll get right into it with chapter number 29. Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. If you try to hold it, you will lose it. So sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard. Sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there is strength and sometimes weakness. Sometimes one is up and sometimes down. Therefore, the sage avoids extremes, excesses, and complacency. The way that I see this chapter, if I could speak one thing about it, it would be to have faith in God's plan. There is nothing that is out of God's plan. Every wrong will be made right. Every distortion of the light will be restored to the fullness. I'm really looking forward to hearing the reincarnation of Lao Tzu himself and our father Abdullah Hashim speak on some of these chapters, because I know there is great wisdom hidden within each of these chapters that I don't quite have the words for. Chapter number 30. Whenever you advise a ruler in the way of Tao, counsel him not to use force to conquer the universe, for this would only cause resistance. Thorn bushes spring up wherever the army has passed. Lean years follow in the wake of a great war. Just do what needs to be done. Never take advantage of power. Achieve results, but never glory in them. Achieve results, but never boast. Achieve results, but never be proud. Achieve results because this is the natural way. Achieve results, but not through violence. Force is followed by loss of strength. This is not the way of Tao. That which goes against the Tao comes to an early end. this chapter mentions things like any ruler of any land, it is advisable for him to know the ways of God, the ultimate ruler, if he is to do a good job at being a ruler himself. To achieve the likeness of a fuller reflection of God's light, you must achieve the desired results. Without boasting, without being proud, without violence, because God does not boast. God is not proud. God is above proudness. And the final line in the chapter really stands out. That which goes against God comes to an early end. And I really wish humanity was wise enough to know this, because the world today is really headed in the wrong direction when it comes to following God. And I truly believe that this religion, the Ahmadi religion of peace and light, is humanity's only hope to avoid complete destruction. For all of those who are not a part of this religion, anyone who does not support this religion is going against God. And that those societies will come to an early end. Just look at history, and you will see empire after empire that has ever gone against God came to an end. Chapter number 31. Good weapons are instruments of fear. All creatures hate them. Therefore, followers of the Tao never used them. The wise man prefers the left. The man of war prefers the right. Weapons are instruments of fear. They are not a wise man's tools. He uses them only when he has no choice. Peace and quiet are dear to his heart, and victory no cause for rejoicing. If you rejoice in victory, then you delight in killing. If you delight in killing, you cannot fulfill yourself. On happy occasions, precedence is given to the left. On sad occasions, to the right. In the army, the general stands on the left, the commander-in-chief on the right. This means that war is conducted like a funeral. When many people are being killed, they should be mourned in heartfelt sorrow. That is why a victory must be observed like a funeral. In this chapter, it makes it clear that weapons are a creation of distorted light, not of pure light. For the fullness of God would not contain an instrument of fear. If God were to wipe away all of his enemies and attain a great victory over them, God would not take pleasure or joy in killing his enemies, for he is the most merciful. For God to kill one of his own enemies is practically like God harming his own self, as paradoxical as that may sound. The followers of God in light of a victory over their enemies, if blood is spilled, which the righteous like Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family, for example, he hated the sword, but sometimes he had to use the sword to defend righteousness. And in his victories against the enemy, the feeling was not of a great victory afterwards, but that of a funeral and of mourning. For every battle, even if it is in the name of righteousness and purity and the Lord God, it is a sad occasion. A very sad occasion. Chapter number 32. The Tao is forever undefined. Small though it is in the unformed state, it cannot be grasped. If kings and lords could harness it, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would come together, and gentle rain fall. Men would need no more instruction, and all things would take their course. Once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. One must know when to stop. Knowing when to stop averts trouble. Tao in the world is like a river flowing home to the sea. This chapter speaks on the indefinability of God, for he is above any definition. It speaks of the ultimate power behind God's fullness of his light, that all things are a reflection and distortion of. If only the beings or the objects or the realms or the forms of creation could harness the qualities of the fullness of God, there would be nothing that could go against it. and there would be no obstacle that would ever come up in the way of such a form. Now the last line, Tao in the world is like a river flowing home to the sea. God in the world is like a river flowing home to the sea. The only analogy that I could come up with is that the forms in this world that were created and come from God are all constantly making their way back to God. Chapter number 33. Knowing others is wisdom. Knowing the self is enlightenment. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. He who stays where he is endures. To die, but not to perish, is to be eternally present. It's easy to know others. By the way, the chapter ended before I just spoke that, what I just said. It is easy to know others. To know your own self is the real challenge. It is easy to force other people to do what you will. But to force yourself to do what you should do is difficult. The one who follows God is content with what he has, and therefore he knows he has enough. And those who follow God when they die, their soul does not perish along with the body. Chapter number 34. The great Tao flows everywhere, both to the left and to the right. The 10,000 things depend on it. It holds nothing back. It fulfills its purpose silently and makes no claim. It nourishes the 10,000 things and yet is not their lord. It has no aim. It is very small. The 10,000 things return to it, yet it is not their lord. It is very great. It does not show greatness, and therefore is truly great. I truly wish I had the right words. Again, like I mentioned in one of the last episodes, it's really hard to remark on words that are already so close to perfection. To add words or to remark on words that are already so close to perfection is almost an injustice to them. But God, his light flows everywhere. It is everywhere. Every form in creation depends on God's light for its existence. And yet God does not enslave or claim rulership over the matter and the forms that depend on him. He allows them to be free. He fulfills them and yet makes no claim over them. He nourishes them but does not claim greatness over them, even though he is greatness itself. Everything returns back to the Lord, for God does not create anything, or nothing is created, but that God knows its beginning and its end. And if everything has a beginning and an end, then God was there before everything, and he will be there after everything is gone. So where else and what else would any form or creation come from and return to, if not to God? And God is not this being that, like an arrogant king, boasts before all of creation, showing how high and mighty he is. He is the source of humbleness itself. And that makes him truly the greatest. When he is the highest of all things, so high that he to call him a thing is not even a good description. He is the Most High, and yet he acts as if he is the most humble. And that truly makes God great. The last chapter of today's episode is chapter number 35. All men will come to him who keeps to the one, for there lie rest and happiness and peace. Passers-by may stop for music and good food, but a description of the Tao seems without substance or flavor. It cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, and yet it cannot be exhausted. Allahu Akbar. God is great and truly great. There is no one but God. God is the only thing that is real. Any follower of God who truly comes to know the aspects of God that are knowable in this realm, that are themselves those virtues being imperfect reflections of what he is actually like. Those people who follow God reflect rest and happiness and peace from within them. Most people in this world, they're concerned with the worldly things: food, music, material possessions. But God has no sound, no substance, and no flavor. God cannot be seen, and yet all of these things that men seek and chase after and desire in this imperfect creation, it all comes to an end. And God, who is nothing like anything in this creation, is the one thing that can never be exhausted. How foolish are we in this physical universe to chase after worldly things time and time again, never being fulfilled. We'll eat once, and some time will go by, and we'll have the desire to eat again. But if we only desired God, we would find something that if we attained it, we would never be hungry again. We would never be thirsty again. We would never have to seek anything else ever again, because God alone is the inexhaustible and the one whom all needs are fulfilled. And in this imperfect creation that we exist in, we are in poverty, absolute poverty. We must turn towards the Lord, the inexhaustible. We would be fools to remain attached to anything but Him. Thank you for listening, everyone. Peace and blessings be upon you all. I hope that I did the Tao Te Ching some justice in this reading. I know that there are people much, much wiser than me that would have been able to really unlock some of the hidden meaning within these words. But I've done my best in these moments and relayed to you my thoughts on them during this period of time. I encourage you to read the Tao Te Ching yourself or listen to it. The link to the readings will be in the description, and you can find the audiobook on YouTube if you wish if you wish to listen to that in your spare time. And until next time, goodbye.